This is not a story. These are documented facts. For over 1,000 years, Arab traders crossed the Sahara and systematically took millions of African men, women, and children as slaves. This history was deliberately buried. They came from the north with chains and calculated plans, a trade that operated for 1,000 years across the sands. The Sahara became a graveyard, the roots were paved with bones. Millions of Africans were taken and never returned home.
This is the history they refuse to teach inside the class. The Arab slave trade was real, and it ran centuries before the past. From the 7th century and straight through to the 20th year, 10 to 17 million Africans taken. Let the full record be clear.
In the year 650 AD, the Arab expansion moved across the northern land. They pushed deep into Africa with organized trade routes and a structured plan. They traveled through the Sahara on trails called the Trans-Saharan Corridor, capturing African men, women, and children through violence, raid, and war. They took people from Sudan, from Ethiopia, from West and Central Africa wide. Arab traders worked alongside African middlemen and kings who collaborated inside. Historians and scholars place the total number between 10 and 17 million souls, transported over 13 centuries in brutal conditions with no recorded controls. The mortality rate crossing the Sahara Desert was catastrophic and extreme. Thousands of enslaved Africans died from thirst and heat before reaching the regime. Men were castrated on a systematic and widespread institutional scale, serving as palace guards and domestic workers with no possibility of mail. Children were forcibly removed from their mothers in the open desert yards. Women were taken as concubines, distributed to Arab households, merchants, and guards. This was not random raiding, this was structured, organized, and fully operational trade, built on legal frameworks, religious justification, and centuries of decisions made.
They came from the north with chains and calculated plans, a trade that operated for 1,000 years across the sands. The Sahara became a graveyard, the roots were paved with bones. Millions of Africans were taken and never returned home. This is the history they refuse to teach inside the class. The Arab slave trade was real, and it ran centuries before the past. From the 7th century and straight through to the 20th year, 10 to 17 million Africans taken. Let the full record be clear.
Zanzibar on the eastern coast became the single largest slave trading port. The Swahili coast was a functional marketplace where human beings were bought and sold short. Arab and Swahili merchants partnered along the full Indian Ocean, trading short, shipping enslaved Africans directly to Arabia, Persia, Iraq, India, and more. Unlike the transatlantic trade, which operated for roughly 400 years documented, the Arab slave trade ran over 13 centuries and remains largely uncontested. Because enslaved African men were castrated, the descendants could not reproduce and grow. This explains why fewer traceable African bloodlines in the Arab world exist today to show the Ottoman Empire continued this trade well into the 1800s.
Without pause,
Saudi Arabia did not officially abolish slavery until 1962 under law. Mauritania only criminalized slavery in 2007 after global pressure increased. Yet mainstream education treats this entire history as though it has been deceased. African scholars John Henry Clark and Chancellor Williams recorded and documented the truth, but institutions refuse to include their findings in any standard historical proof.
13th century of organized trade, millions file by file.
Arab legal codes formally permitted and protected the institution of slavery. Islamic jurisprudence from multiple schools gave it religious clarity. This is not a statement on faith. This is strictly documented historical record. The African continent was systematically depopulated, and that fact cannot be ignored. The bones remain scattered across the Saharan desert floor today. The archives inside Arab institutions still hold the transaction records of that day. The evidence is documented. The records exist in Arab archives and African scholarly texts.
Historians
Have confirmed the numbers.
The only question
Remaining is whether the world will finally hold this history accountable and acknowledge what was done to millions of African people across those desert sands. These are the facts.
Let us go deeper into the evidence that history tried to erase. The Zanj Rebellion of 86-9 AD was enslaved Africans taking back their place. In southern Iraq, African slaves called the Zanj rose up and held their ground. For 14 years they fought the Abbasid Caliphate before they were finally put down. Over 500,000 Africans were laboring in the salt marshes of Basra. Worked to death, draining swamps under Arab masters without mercy or agenda. The Abbasid Caliphate was built substantially on African enslaved labor and production. Yet no Arab government today has issued a single formal statement of reduction. The Omani Arab Sultanate controlled the East African coast for over 2 centuries straight. Muscat and Oman ran the Zanzibar slave trade as a state-organized operation of state. The Sultanate of Oman never issued a reparations plan. Tippu Tip, the Arab Swahili trader, enslaved thousands across the land. The Red Sea route carried Africans into Yemen and into Saudi ground. 400 years after abolition, not a single monument has been found. They built their empires on African backs and African hands. Then African hands, they crossed the Red Sea and the Saharan sand. No apology, no memorial, no recorded day of shame. The Arab world erased this chapter, and nobody called their name. Tippu Tip, born Hamad bin Mohammed, operated out of Congo and Tanzania with force. He personally enslaved tens of thousands, delivering them along the Arab coastal course. The Fatimid dynasty, the Umayyad Caliphate, the Abbasid state, all kept African slaves. Arab historians documented their own transactions, but kept the evidence locked in caves. African kings and Canaan-born New and Ashanti participated as suppliers for Arab demand, which is why this conversation requires honesty about every complicit hand. But the scale, the organization, the longevity belong to the Arab trading machine. 13 centuries of continuous operation, the longest running system ever seen.
No statue torn down in Riyadh tonight.
Oh no,
No school curriculum correcting what is right.
the silence from the Arab world
Speaks every single fact,
4 million Africans went through Zanzibar,
and none came back.
Oman still exists. The archives still exist.
Tippu Tips
Trading records.
still exist.
The Zanj fought and died for freedom in Iraq in 86-9. Say their names, acknowledge the centuries. The silence is a continuous